Good afternoon, everybody. It's me and Luna here, out on a nice walk, enjoying some sunshine. It's been very cold this last few days. Luna's decided to go into a nice mud bath there. It's okay, she enjoys it. Give her a wash off when we get home, it's not a big problem. But today I want to talk about how to recognise emotionally immature people. It's a really good skill to have. You'll be able to differentiate between individuals when you learn, about certain aspects that emotionally mature people display, their characteristics. It'll save you a whole lot of trouble. Give you a wee view of the park here. 360. Beautiful park. Big park. So let's get to it. Hope everybody's doing well. We're doing great. It's been very cold this past few days, but it looks like the weather is on the turn. The sun's come out again. Hooray! So let's have a wee run through it then. So, emotional, immature individuals can be any age. You see it in children, when they're very young, but that's very normal, kids having tantrums, because when they're young, they don't understand how to regulate their emotions, they don't understand how to process them, and as adults, parents, caregivers, it's our job to teach them how to understand their emotions, process them, and deal with them in a very healthy way. But unfortunately, a lot of people, for whatever reason, maybe grew up in bad backgrounds, didn't have the best social situations, they weren't taught how to emotionally regulate. And you'll see, young adults, middle age, even elderly people, I've come across it all, where they just don't know how to regulate their emotions. Gets them into all sorts of trouble, can get you into all sorts of trouble as well, because sometimes this can happen to us out of the blue, and we're like left standing going, what has just happened? So if you've come across an individual who you're trying to have a conversation with them, and say for instance they maybe laugh at you, sneer at you, they get angry with you if you're making suggestions, you try to talk to people, you try to have a mature conversation with someone about anything. You can come across it anywhere, in your work, on a bus, while you're driving your car, in the supermarket, you name it, they're everywhere because people are everywhere. So the characteristics you'll start to see are people not being able to regulate their emotions. So if you're having a conversation or something stresses them out, or different types of social situations that you might have come across, could be paying for a ticket in a bus. The bus driver's a bit snappy. You meet someone, you're out walking your dog, their dog's reactive, and that person reacts along with the dog. These are emotionally immature individuals that haven't learned to regulate and be able to process their emotions in a mature, sensible, healthy way. And one of the reasons I want to make this video is because there's a lot of people who have had issues in their life with people and maybe blame themselves. They've been trying to communicate with maybe a family member or a work colleague, trying to do everything they can to have a conversation, resolve things, and someone's just set off on you in one of these ways. And the reason I want to make the video is so that you don't take this to heart. You've got to understand that you're probably dealing with an emotional person who hasn't learned to regulate their emotions. Because what can happen is you can take that in and you can blame yourself, because a lot of emotional, immature people do tend to pass the blame onto other people, which can cause a lot of distress. And a lot of people can blame themselves. You know, could have even been a parent, could have been a sibling, could have been a partner. Someone who just, and it can go from one extreme to the other. It can go from someone who's had a tantrum, doesn't want to talk, doesn't want to open up, or blaming you for the situation. Or they could react out in anger, even verbal abuse, gaslighting you. It can go from one extreme to the next, you know, and I hope that anybody experiencing that, you know, extreme end would get help, because it is not a nice thing. I've had it myself, been out walking the dog. I tend to find it more when I'm out with the dog, because I'm out a lot in parks and there's a lot of dog walkers. And sometimes you might have a person who is out with their dog. The dog maybe mightn't be the best trained. Something happens, and the person who's got the dog hasn't got the emotional maturity to be able to turn around and say, "Oh, I'm really sorry," you know, or "Let me just get the dog and get it back on the lead, and I apologise." Now that would be an emotionally mature response. You would take responsibility for your actions. You wouldn't be afraid to have the hard conversation, admit your responsibility, and be on your way. And then you let it go. But in that same scenario, you could meet someone, same thing happens, you've done nothing wrong, and they react with anger and project that immaturity onto you. And it could be some things I've had in the past, like you should have your dog under control, you should have it on a lead. And I am confident and mature enough to know that my dog's very well trained, very well behaved, and if anything were to happen, which I doubt, I would be able to be mature and take responsibility and do what needs to be done. So, if you're dealing with any of these emotionally immature people, I want you to understand what is happening. I want you to understand that these are individuals who have never learned how to process, how to deal, and how to resolve emotions properly and in a healthy way. And unfortunately, the sad aspect about it is it's never been taught. It's something that you have to be taught as a child. When kids throw tantrums, when they don't want to do something, when they want to jerk out a responsibility, all the things that kids do, which is absolutely normal and healthy, you as a parent or a carer help them and guide them to being able to process their emotions healthily. Now, if you are an emotionally immature person, then don't beat yourself up either. Maybe it'll help you understand why you react in anger, why you haven't got the confidence to say you're sorry or have that hard conversation with someone insecure about it. Then This might help you to start to understand why you're like that and take some steps to healing yourself, being compassionate with yourself, and finding ways to resolve it. You know, there is some very good tips. You can journal, you can pause before you react, try to become much more aware of your thoughts and what's happening around you. When you go back home, you can journal it down, have a good look at it, and see what the truth of the situation is. Start to become much more aware of what you're thinking and how you're reacting. And if you need a little bit more help, there is plenty of help out there. Don't ever be ashamed to go for help, because what happens is we get stuck in patterns. All of us get stuck in patterns, depending on how we were raised, depending on what social situations we've been in. And if you're dealing with emotionally immature people and you can't get it resolved, then it's best to distance yourself from these people. You know, if you feel safe enough that you want to point it out and have the hard talk, go ahead and do that, but only do it if you feel safe. And if you are a person who is reacting in an emotionally immature way, then I encourage you to start looking at that and start to find solutions. So, that's a wee talk. Hope it helps understand emotionally immature people, and have a fantastic day. And I'll talk to you all soon from the sunny UK.